Check, check, check. Oh, there you go. Hello. Check, check. Check. It's not very sensitive. Testing one, two.
All right, we'll go ahead and call a few seconds early, but we'll call the Planning and Development Committee to order. And Ms. Jessie, it's on you.
Good evening. We have one item on the agenda, the request to rezone TMS numbers 13014, 13001, and 002, located at 112 and 110 Wiley Street, totaling approximately 1 acre and owned by Lindy G. Taylor from GR5 General Residential 5 units per acre to NR Neighborhood Residential. This is in Council District 1. Planning Commission held a public hearing and voted down a recommendation for approval at their meeting on the 21st, 2020.
I'll make a motion. We move it to full council for denial. With recommendation.
I'll second that.
A motion made and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I hear a motion? We
I'll
adjourn?
make a motion. We adjourn.
I'll second that as well.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
Only time I can beat you.
Yeah, that's right.
Safe travels, Jesse.
I'll bring the Parks and Recreation meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening, everyone. We just got 2 items on the agenda. The first one is discussion of revisions to the special event permit guide. Just very briefly to give you guys a little bit of background. Probably a year and a half ago or so, some of the downtown merchants and Dream had coordinated and started gathering some survey data after events. We had several meetings, kind of evaluated, looked at some of that information that was coming in. And then most recently, my staff and myself and Dream all met. We reviewed the permit guide, came up with several changes that we would recommend. We took those to the merchants, shared kind of that initial draft with them, gathered some more data, and that's what we're going to present to you tonight is the changes that we would propose to the special events permit guide. Hopefully you guys have seen that. I did kind of try to condense kind of the big items onto that one sheet of paper so that you guys would have that. And I'm going to run through those. The minor things like staff name changes, grammatical formatting, I did not put those on this list. So I'm just going to ignore those for tonight. But under the section, when do I need a permit? We've removed the timeline as this is addressed in a separate section, and we added mention of the picketing and notice of intent process. This was added after the special event permit guide's last update. What type of permits are not allowed? We added exclusion of overnight or events outside of our standard hours, which is 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. This is something that we would already exclude, but it wasn't spelled out in the permit, so we added that. Under submitting a permit, we're asking that council suggest adjusting that timeline for permits with street closures to no less than 90 days in advance. Other permits, 30 days. That would require a change in ordinance, but we felt that is a realistic timeline with the work that needs to go in, particularly with public safety, being able to get officers lined up to work those events. It's just there's a lot more work required for whenever there's a street closure involved. Date request, we added verbiage giving historical events, date and location preference. Again, that's a practice that we already do. However, it wasn't included in that guide. Under street closing guidelines, we added verbiage about limiting street closures, encouraging people to keep streets open whenever possible. But we did put a new guideline that you have to have at least 500 minimum expected attendance to close a street, unless this is supported by all affected property owners, because we do know that we do have a couple block parties. So we didn't want to keep them from being able to do that. We wanted to give them a pathway forward with those. We also added street closures, and I'm going to read this one verbatim, but street closures in the downtown business area or events over 500 require the hiring of an event manager through Parks and Recreation Department. Unless this requirement is waived by the Parks and Recreation Director, The event manager's fee is billed at the current rate with a 4-hour minimum. It must be paid at least 15 days prior to the event. And this would be handled through the Parks and Recreation Department. I do want to spend a minute here just to make sure that everybody understands, this would be a new position for Parks and Recreation. It's never existed. This position would only work events. And so the salary for this position would be billed to the permit holder. And the reason that we feel this is so important is really just for accountability. It would be someone that would be kind of the boots on the ground, if you will, representing Parks and Recreation, making sure that everything in the permit guide is being followed, addressing issues that the downtown merchants are having real time. So it would give everyone a point of contact for day of who to reach out to. Under fireworks and bonfires, we removed the information regarding bonfires. That's not something that we would do on town property, or we did not anticipate that, so we did remove that. Vendors, which was formerly food sales, we edited that to say no booth, vendor, food truck should be set up immediately in front of an open retail or food establishment. All driveway or access points must remain open and accessible. This is one of the things that we heard the feedback from the downtown merchants. Under restroom facilities, we added verbiage that these cannot be placed in front of a retail or food establishment. Again, this was feedback from the merchants downtown, and we added a chart for suggested planning. Parking, we added access to the parking garage must remain open at all times unless approved by town council. This is something that, again, we've already is in practice, similar to what we did with the Sweet Tea Half Marathon when there were extenuating circumstances. We brought that to you guys for approval. So any event organizer that would want an exemption would need to submit a proposal to me, and I would bring that to you guys for consideration. And that is kind of the highlights of most of the changes. And if y'all have any questions for me. No, sir, we didn't change anything with fireworks. All of the rules surrounding those stay exactly the same. No, sir, we didn't change anything. The only thing we changed is there was verbiage in there regarding bonfires, and we just struck bonfires from there because you don't need a special event permit guide if you're on private property. And we're not gonna, if someone submitted a request to put a bonfire on our public property, we're gonna say no. So we just took it out because we're not gonna permit it.
And I definitely like the event coordinator. I think that's a great idea.
And that would likely be a part-time position. We would most likely need to hire 2 people. They would both be trained. And then as their availability to fill those events. I did also provide you guys with just a count of the 2023 permits so that you can see how many there are. 2024 looks to be right in within the same number. We picked up one downtown event with street closures, but we also dropped one. So the numbers should be right about the same.
And something we can discuss later, when you have an events coordinator and the people want them to do more than what's required from the town, how we, if they want to hire them also to do their event
Mm.
in conjunction, how to separate that.
Yes, sir.
I think what you're doing, most of what I see here makes it, it's got a whole lot of sense in it. We certainly want to have people able to be comfortable in Somerville with some of the things they want to do. So I concur with you on these things.
Do you want to make a motion to pass?
I would make a motion, Mr. Chair, unless you got some other comments. And we move it to the full council with our recommendation.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Thank you both. The second item is discussion of accepting quitclaim on 2 parcels from SCDOT on Berlin G. Myers Parkway. Have the map. Yes. So the 2 parcels The first one, 379-000-0047. That's 26.19 acres. The second parcel is the one directly beside it that is labeled SCDOT. That's TMS number 379-000-0022. And that's 17.71 acres, totaling 43.9 acres between those two. Those sit, you can just see the back of the ball fields at Gahagan in the back. Where you see TMS number 379-000-0035, that belongs to the town, and the one adjacent to that as well, right there off of Butler Street. There are some very strict restrictive covenants on the property, so we could not develop it currently with the restricted covenants that are on that property. But it would allow us to hopefully curtail some of the unwanted activity that's happening on that property, allow us to put up some signage. And then, of course, Somerville Police Department would have authority then to enforce and manage that property for us. So it is our staff's recommendation to accept those properties.
And would that allow for conductivity with Gahagan Park and the trail?
So there is already a trail running through that property. So we would maintain that trail. It's just a nature trail. But the restrictive covenants would not really allow us to do a whole lot more, but yes, we would maintain that section.
Okay.
And what's the size of this property?
The two parcels together is 43 acres.
It's a lot of land.
Yes, sir.
But I was talking with GW, and he was indicating that they were giving it to us as quit claim, but there's nothing hardly that we could actually use it for.
That's correct.
So maybe that'll change.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to move it to council.
And I'll second, and all in favor?
Yeah.
Right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Four.
I
Okay.
Aaron, don't go anywhere.
Oh, safety.
Isn't this public safety? Mr. Brown.
agenda, you got yours. Okay. I'll call to order the public safety. You ready, Mr. Doug?
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Good.
So we've had a recent event that occurred that was a horrible, tragic incident that occurred in the county's jurisdiction. But the situation involved the shooting and killing of a woman that occurred over a week ago. And the shooting occurred in the county, but where the crime scene was located was 310.10 feet out of the town limits. And the town of Somerville Police Department, as well as public safety, and I believe Parks and Recreation, we have been working this trail to maintain it quite some time. And our police officers are on it every day throughout the day, both on motorcycles, in their police vehicles, and also in all-terrain vehicle as well. Most of the property that butts up to the trail along the canal from Carolina all the way to Bacon's Bridge is in the town of Somerville. But where this incident occurred was a donut hole. And obviously the sheriff's office and the Department of Natural Resources investigated that incident. I have been in conversations with Sheriff-elect Richardson in reference to any way we can assist in that matter. But it should be known that our public safety is always going to be the first ones on the scene because it's so close to our jurisdiction. Not to mention that all of the neighborhoods that butt up to it are in the town of Somerville. When you cross over Bacon's Bridge and head towards the YMCA, it's almost entirely ours until you get down by the YMCA, which several years ago, we had a horrible rape that occurred of someone where they were victimized. And that occurred in the sheriff's office jurisdiction again, and they handled it. So it's been my plan since 2021 to enhance the security along that trail, especially with the amount of transient and homelessness traffic that we're seeing along it. We have had crimes occur along the trail to include robberies, rapes, and now a horrible shooting where a woman needlessly died and her husband was shot. And so with that being said, we as a town have embraced this trail as our own. It's on our website that it's our scenic trail. Whether we have lighting on it or not, people are going to be on it. I know people, to include Councilman, I believe your wife told me that she's run on it at 11 o'clock at night before. Certainly that will not happen again, I would suspect. But I think by putting lighting and surveillance along that route is not going to slow anything down with the incentivization of people going on the trail. We are liable and culpable as a town, no matter how you look at it, whether we put lighting on it, surveillance cameras or not. And we, as an organization, the police department, we need to be able to police this trail. So I'm asking for you all to consider some type of emergency declaration or MOU with the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office and the County of Dorchester to allow for us. I think the quickest method without going through annexation is allow for us to at least have a memorandum of understanding to allow us to fully police this trail. Again, we've always been the first ones to respond. We are on that trail wasting taxpayers' dollars if it's not in our jurisdiction. So it's my responsibility as the chief of police to keep this area safe. And you have my commitment to do that. I just in 2021, when I came in, we had a shooting out here in front of Montrose, and the consideration asked for was for camera systems to be installed in the Hudson Square and Business District area. And you all listened, the former council listened to me. We were able to do that with hospitality tax money. Now, where this funding stream or discussion goes from here or into the future of the new year, I want it to be on your radar because Amy and I have discussed this a couple of times. And the trail, I literally had a company come out and a contractor come out about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and give us an estimate it would cost to completely have the trail covered with lighting, solar powered surveillance cameras with live feeds into our dispatch center. Again, it's not the complete answer, but I think we as a town, as much as we have grown in the amount of people we're seeing coming here from out of town over 50 miles away that are coming to walk that trail or to illegally look for fossils, that we have a responsibility to keep them safe. And that's where I'm coming to you tonight, is to ask for your indulgence to consider that.
Well, yeah, I think that's something that some of the council members have been responding to what you're suggesting as far as the two remedies. One is increase the lighting and bring this property into the town of Somerville, annex it. Because I think it's a donut hole, and it's, you know, we're getting all the activity from this, what's happening in that donut hole. But I think it would be a little bit easier for us to control it maybe if we brought it into the town. So how do y'all feel about it?
I'm all in favor of, at a minimum, doing a memo of understanding with the goal working toward fully annexing the length of that trail. That trail, when that trail was built, originally the county maintained the slopes, we maintained the bottom, but I think now we're fully maintaining that entire canal, right? Is that correct? And I've seen in the city of Charleston what it looks like when people stop using the trail. It just when they don't feel safe on it, the trail dies. And I don't want to see that happen to this trail. But tell me, what does enhanced surveillance look like? Is that just at the access points? Is that
So we
along
started,
the length of the trail?
good question. So a couple of years ago, the first thing I wanted to do was have the parking areas. Of course, Ashley's been done away with, but I wanted Richardson Avenue. I wanted Bacon's Bridge. I wanted Loudon. Loudon's been done away with. So I wanted to start with the parking areas because that's where cars are getting broken into. That's where we have nefarious activity taking place at night where people go and they do things they're not supposed to be doing in vehicles. And so that was the priority in discussion. Certainly, that's a very long trail. You could have cameras with low lux capability to look at night, so you can actually see down the trail and zoom in. And we've had some situations where we've had some mischievous acts such as masturbation and whatnot along the trail. And we would love to be able to catch these culprits, but by the time we get called or told about it, they've walked back into the woods. And we don't have jurisdiction there, by the way. So well, there's that.
About how much of that trail, and maybe Amy, you know this too, is actually, I mean, how much is out of town?
Most of it's in the town, probably 85%. Does that sound right, Amy? About 85% where we lose most of it is down near the YMCA. But where there's donut holes kind of starts picking up near the Newington Pool over to Bacon. It's just kind of like these people were walking in our jurisdiction, were shot out of our jurisdiction, and they would have been walking back in our jurisdiction within feet.
You mentioned something a while ago when you started talking about the cost of lighting this area we're having all the problems. I don't know whether you want to talk about what it's going to cost, but do you think that's feasible for the town to look into that based on?
I think it's my responsibility for safety. It's Amy and I work very close together. We have a good relationship. And so I would certainly want to have the conversation with her so that we don't do anything. We don't want people walking the trail to feel like we're spying on them. That's not what's happening. Literally, this entire complex is videotaped. The police department, the parking garage, Hutchinson Square. It's eagle eye. It's us trying to keep an eye on areas. But if I can go back and rewind an incident or go back into a moment in time and create an event, I can go back and see the pre, the existing, and the post. And I think that's important. So it can be done relatively cheap. I don't like the word cheap. I don't want it done right, but I think the conversation starts tonight with that, how that looks. Obviously, we're not making decisions on that part of it tonight, but I would like to be able to come back maybe mid-year and have that discussion with you all with some numbers and some things. And I think you all would, after I'm able to get with Amy and certainly work closely with her on how she thinks that should look. But I just want people who are here and people who are listening to understand it's not for us to spy on people. It's a public place. It's a free airspace, and it's my responsibility. It's our responsibility to make sure that we can do our best and put our best foot forward. And the days of we're just going to keep the trail dim and that'll keep walkers off of it it's not going to fly anymore.
I think that most people in the town of Somerville would understand that it's really for their benefit because of.
Well, this shooting has rocked the world of the people in Newington and anybody who lives along that trail for many reasons, and I won't get into it, but I think it's unconscionable that this incident occurred. And I think as showing goodwill to the citizens of your constituents, especially along that path, you live over there, that we need to do our best to do due diligence there. There's kids, literally their Pine Woods swim team goes out there and works out. I mean, there's the Somerville High School orienteering team works out there. I mean, every team has a team sport. They have CrossFit. These are entire groups of people, and they don't care that it says it's only open from dawn to dusk or dusk to dawn. They don't care. It's there. They're going to use it.
I think it's a great idea, and I would make a motion that we move this forward for discussion for finance. I mean, for on Thursday night.
I'll certainly second that emotion, but I'll take it a step further in that we maybe have a memo of understanding drawn up so that we can actually discuss the actual memo on Thursday night. Is that possible? Do you have enough time to do that?
Probably not by Thursday night, but certainly we can move towards pursuing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what we need is for, the police department to have some leeway to look into this thing a little deeper and see what it would cost and that sort of thing, and then bring that back to the administrator so that we could, the council can have a good look at it.
Yeah, I think she could reach out to the sheriff elect and have, start those conversations about the MOU. We'll devise a strategy for an annexation. with the county,
Because
so.
we're really talking about saving lives. A lot of people are dying by gunshot, and we want to reduce it if we can. And it's just what we're living with right now because of the easy access to guns. And so we have to do what we can to keep people breathing and enjoying themselves living here in Somerville.
So perhaps at this moment, we really don't need to discuss it Thursday night. We can just let you talk to the sheriff.
Yes, ma'am. If it's okay with you and Administrator Slatton, I would like to indulge that opportunity to speak to them. Obviously, they're in the middle of,
Unless you as the committee feel that the full council wants to have some input on this, happy to have this discussion again Thursday night, but it's up to y'all. If we feel like there's gonna be a blessing to pursue this path, then we could leave it here at the committee level. Otherwise, I would prefer to have some action by council. But that's obviously up to y'all.
Yeah, I would like to keep your motion to bring it to full council. If nothing else, I would like for the public to know that this is something that we are talking about.
Yeah, I think we should take it to council also. I think this is something it's just been a problem for us, and a lot of people know about what has happened, and they're expecting us, with having a police department as we do, that we, would look into this thing. So I'm 100% behind.
citizens have been asking for it on our social media. We monitor it. They've come to our police blotter and said, when are you going to put cameras out there? And we literally are telling them before this shooting happened, we have been proactively looking into this. So I think we got to really take that serious. And again, in the new year, the first priority is definitely getting the MOU in place. So.
Very good.
So do I hear a motion?
I made that motion.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to take the full council. In favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Hi.
Do we have anything else on our agenda?
I beg your indulgence and ask your permission, Mr. Slatton. I know you don't like getting caught off guard, but I just, I know how you are, but I just wanted to mention, first of all, that very excited to announce that Deputy Chief O'Meara, who's here today, he didn't know I was doing this, but he announced his retirement last week. And he is going to be moving down to Florida to be with his grandchildren and moving his family down there. He spent 23 loyal years of service here at the Town of Somerville Police Department and has given lots of sweat, blood, and tears to this town. I'd like for newly appointed Chief Deputy Christopher Hurst to stand. He didn't know I was doing this. So Chris is going to be our next Deputy Chief of Police for the Somerville Police Department, and he has been our public information officer for the police department. He oversees our criminal investigative division. He just completed his bachelor's degree. He's going to be pursuing his master's degree, right, Chris? And he just graduated the FBI National Academy. He is by far the perfect candidate to step in to be my right hand and assist me in the town as we move forward. I wish Deputy Chief O'Meara all the best in his future endeavors, and I know he'll probably have something to say before he leaves. But I just wanted to tell you all that. And then last, to leave on a not so high note, I just want, as a Public Safety Committee, and I know Mr. Slatton knows this, I just want you to know that our building that we've been working out of continues to be dilapidated. We have spent upwards of $100,000 on the HVAC in a year. We just got done spending $15,000. We're going to spend another $15,000. And I'm just saying this to you because obviously there's nothing that's going to be able to fix that any quicker. But I just want you to know our police officers have been working in an 89-degree environment, working all the crimes and environment, things we've been handling. I just want you to understand, that I'm speaking on their behalf, that they've been working really hard despite, some of the conditions. Luckily, it has been getting cooler, but I just wanted to make sure y'all are aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Y'all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Thank you.
And I'll go ahead and open up the Public Works and Committee on Water Supply. We have a stop sign request.
Yes. Let me go ahead. I have printed out some exhibits for both of these agenda items. I'll go ahead and give these.
Thanks.
That's the second. That's- Stop sign. Sorry that it- Okay. Okay, the first item is the stop sign request at Judy Street and Mary Ann Drive. This intersection is currently a two-way stop, but then there is that third leg where folks are coming to the north as shown by the green arrows on your exhibit. And the residents there, saying that they're almost getting hit when they're cutting the grass right there because folks will just take that right corner. So, or, the right corner pretty quickly. So there's
they
the
have
request to make that a three-way stop.
I can see that. I mean,
Well, we've done this in a couple neighborhoods before.
Mhm.
I have no problem with this because I've seen this before.
Okay,
Madam Chairwoman, I would move that we push it to full council with a recommendation for approval.
And I'll second that. We're both in favor. Yeah.
Favor.
okay, all right, thank you. The second item is discussion of the quitclaim request for the portion of South Pine Street at 303 West Richardson Avenue. That's TMS number 13707020004. And this is the corner parcel. It came before the Public Works Committee in April of 2016. And it was discussed and decided on that the area on South Pine Street be quitclaimed, but not West Richardson, just because there is drainage along that area and West Richardson may be widened in the future. So to leave that open currently, this part of the debt mold, it's 100 street or 100-foot right of ways. We're 50 foot on each side of the road center line, but DOT is only accepting 50-foot right of way, 25 feet on either side of the roadway center line. So that leaves a 25-foot strip of just no man's land, really, that the town maintains per se, but really the property owner as well, just maintains that as part of their front yard. So we wanted to bring this back up because it never, from that time in 2016, it never made it to full council. Currently, they need to get an updated survey. This plat is not recorded and it's, dated and, before 2016 as well. So before we can move forward with a quitclaim, we're going to have to get an updated plat.
And are they requesting the 25 feet or the 50 feet? The full 50? Is there?
No, the 25 feet, that
Okay.
area, yeah.
In
behind-
between the depth mold and or between the DOT right away and
And the debt mold.
I got you.
Yes,
I
sir.
got you. Okay. But we need, it sounds like we got to have a new survey anyway, so
Correct.
we just want to postpone this till we
Yeah,
get a
just-
survey or,
Yeah, that's what I would say.
yeah, I'd make a motion, we postpone this till we get a survey.
I'll second.
So just wait till the
Survey.
new survey and then
Yeah.
bring it to, yes.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's all that I have.
I would move, we adjourn.
And I'll second. We're adjourned.
All right, I think everybody's in place. So we'll go ahead and call the Finance Committee meeting to order. And before we turn it over to Ms. Rhonda, we just want to wish our town clerk, Beth Meservey, a very happy birthday. Happy birthday, Beth. All right, Ms. Rhonda.
All right, good evening. I would like to start out by saying in spirit of cooperation, Chief Wright, you can use my fence at any time to put surveillance cameras on, because I am painfully close to that. Let me just tell you. So you have before you the October financial report. We are a third of the way through the year and 3/4 or 2/3 through our 6 months of spend down before our tax revenue starts to come in. We took in a little over $1 million in revenue, and our year to date is 6 million, or 14% of our budget.
We're turning some screens on, hold this.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good. I was looking at the revenue summary. We collected just a little over $1 million, year to date, 6 million, which is 14% of our revenue budget. Under the expenses, our expenses for the month were a little higher than usual. They're about a little over 5 million. We had 3 payrolls during October, pay days. So that elevated the expenses a little bit. In aggregate, we have spent 33% of our budget, which is right on. There are a couple of categories that are a little bit higher. You heard Chief Wright talk about the repairs to the building. So building and grounds is a little bit higher. And of course, our debt is not really a straight line payment throughout the year. So when we have a debt payment, it'll elevate that on a percentage basis. And our non-departmental is the payment to the DCCO. That is a one-time payment. So that is 100% of our budget in there. The other income is transfers in. We transferred 308,000 from hospitality, as we do every month, for a year-to-date total of 1.2. So year-to-date, our expenses exceeded our revenues by about $9 million. Again, we'll have November and December, and then we will start collecting our tax revenue. Any questions on the summary?
Just gonna point out, Ms. Rhonda, so we're $9 million in the hole when you compare revenues to expenditures thus far in the year.
Yes, sir.
All right.
On revenue, our property taxes, we collected a little, mainly vehicle taxes. I will point out that I know it looks unusual to see a negative number for real property taxes. Anything that's collected after like March or April is considered prior year taxes. So if the county had any kind of adjustment to any taxes they collected, it would be a refund and be classified as real property taxes. So they had a little bit of that they communicated to us. License and permits, year to date, we're 1.9. The larger categories are building permits at 104,000 and business licenses 132,000. Municipal court fines, our month was about 16,000. I think that had a lot to do with, I believe we had some, closed days, some storm days and some other things, and as far as their, because usually it's a little higher than that. State revenues, local option sales tax, we did not get, a disbursement from the state during the month. We'll likely get 2 disbursements in November. Sometimes they run a little bit behind. So year-to-date total for state revenues is 1.8 million. Parks and Recreation revenues, we collected 34,000 for the month, and year-to-date 174,000. So we've collected 44% in Parks and Revenue of what our total budget amount is. Miscellaneous, 204,000 for a year-to-date of 1.1, which is 61% of our total. And transfers in, again, is the hospitality tax that we transfer monthly. Any questions on revenues? Impact fees. The 3 categories obviously are Parks and Rec, Fire, and Municipal. We collected, for the month, we collected about $100,000 among all 3 segments. And year-to-date total, between residential and commercial is about 1.5 million. We spent, year-to-date, we spent a little bit on the public, safety building design. That number will increase, over the coming months, and some improvements to Parks and Rec, out of the, impact fees. Any questions on any of those? Hospitality tax and accommodations. We're right on target for hospitality. We collected just under $500,000, year-to-date 2.1. Our expenses, which it does include the transfer to the general fund, of 394 and just over 2 million. So year-to-date, we have a surplus of 23,000 in hospitality tax. Accommodations, we don't have any regular expenditures out of that fund. We collected 32,000 for the current month, and year-to-date 144. So based on what we've collected in our budgeted revenue, about 6 million, we're right on target with hospitality. Stormwater management, we collected about $6,000 in revenue. Year-to-date 375,000. Our expenditures are about 188,000 for the period, and year-to-date 907. Again, this is one of the funds that we will receive tax revenues in January and February for this fund. So year-to-date, we are in a deficit position of 532,000. Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhonda.
Authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $71,996.26 to purchase 10 new in-car enhanced mobile radios for the 10 police vehicles already approved by the council. Funds to come from approved budgeted capital funds, and the request is from the police department.
Make a motion that we authorize this.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Authorization to surplus the following police department vehicles: P-250, a 2013 Dodge Charger with 110,787 miles to be sold as surplus. P-336, a 2018 Ford Taurus with 82,635 miles to be sold as surplus to the city of Hanover. And P-337, a 2018 Ford Taurus with 45,684 miles to be sold as surplus to the city of Hanahan.
Mr. Mayor, I move we surplus the vehicles listed.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For item D on your agenda, it says from the Berkeley County Fire Department. That is actually supposed to be the Sheriff's Department. So the authorization is to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Berkeley County Sheriff's Department for the dive team from Somerville Fire and Rescue.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Authorization for the town administrator to enter into a contract with JanPro for janitorial services in Town Hall Annex Building, Police Headquarters and Police Annex Building, $71,495 annual contract with automatic renewal with 30 days notice to exit. The services were bid out with over 8 companies submitting proposals. JanPro was chosen based on fees, services provided, and references.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
I do have one question. Who we presently have, do we have JanPro now or is it a different company?
So we currently have Wright services for this building and the other old town hall. JanPro is currently providing services to the police department, but not the annex. And they have been very good for the police department. So,
Perfect. Is my mic working? Can you hear me out there? It doesn't sound up here. This one is.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr.
Next is the
Slatton.
town administrator's report.
Mayor, Council, it's good to see everybody. I wanted to give you all an update mostly on the Maple Street extension project. Since I've been here, I've been working very closely with staff, Bonnie and Rhonda in particular, to get a good grasp on some of these larger construction projects that we have ongoing, and Maple Street being at the point that it is in its construction has been primarily been my focus in trying to get a handle on are we going to deliver this thing on time? Are we going to deliver it on budget? I can tell you right now, as you already know, we're not going to deliver it on time. It's probably going to be, if I had to guess, Bonnie, this time next year before we're near completion. That's not to say that there isn't work ongoing, but a number of decisions were made previously. And then, of course, weather has delayed the project on several occasions. One of the things that I've been mostly concerned about is ensuring that we have a good grasp on the costs for the project. It's budgeted at $22 million. Most of that funding is coming from Dorchester County. And we have other sources of revenue, but as I've had conversations with Bonnie and then Rhonda as well, we have tried to get a sense of how much more is this project going to cost us beyond the $22 million. So the three of us met a week or 2 weeks ago, went through the current budget for this project, and then tried to identify those things that have not, that don't have expenses, that don't have funding identified yet to pay for them. There's about $900,000 in railroad work that needs to take place. That's $900,000 of work that the contractors need to do to go under the railroad to connect either end of the project that's bisected by the railroad. That's $900,000. We're estimating that there's about $300,000 worth of right-of-way that we need to still acquire that hasn't been acquired yet. And then we're expecting on the high side, and we're going to have a meeting tomorrow with HDR, our project management company. We expect that they're probably going to ask for some additional funds for the additional time that they're going to be on site and managing the project. Again, we're meeting with them tomorrow. We'll have a better sense of this, but right now we're penciling in about $500,000 for additional costs to them. DOT is going to, we learned last week or week before that they are going to request about $250,000 worth of a change order due to the US 78 widening that's going to be taking place at that intersection as well. So all told, right now, we're expecting up to $1.95 million. Let's just go ahead and call it an even 2 that we have not identified funding for if those expenses do come to bear. And I think right now we kind of expect that. Okay. Again, we're meeting with HDR tomorrow to get a better handle on where they are and what their expectations are for getting this thing done more quickly or as quickly as possible, and how much it could potentially, how much more it could potentially cost us. And then we, as the town, would have to find ways to fund that deficit that has not been, that we think that we're going to be looking at. I'm not asking you to do anything tonight, but I'm giving you the heads up now that this is coming. It may not be in the next 3 months, 6 months, but it'll be here before the end of the project, I expect. And we can talk more about it at mid-year. We should have a better sense of the timing of the completion of the project. And then we can also incorporate this, any potential deficit in our discussions for the new fiscal year that's going to start July the 1st. Related to this, particularly the railroad work, we did not get the chance to get this on the agenda for tonight's finance committee meeting, but we're going to put it on the council meeting agenda for Thursday night. Is a contract for about $130,000 for flagging for the railroad work once the contractors start working there. So there's been some foot dragging there, and we finally got that. We have that invoice, that contract that we need to pay, that purchase order. So we'll be putting that on the agenda for Thursday night, since we didn't have time to get it on for tonight's finance committee meeting. Happy to answer any questions about what I've just discussed with you.
When you say flag, are you talking about traffic control?
Yep. Yep.
That's not already in the budget.
No,
Or it's not already in the
no,
project. scope.
it's actually a different item. It's a railroad requirement.
Right.
You have to have a railroad flagger whenever you're working within railroad right of way, and they always do a separate purchase order. And so this is basically Norfolk Southern's requirement
Right.
to be encroaching within their right of way, and it's a separate agreement.
Rhonda can give some details about where that funding's coming from too.
I confused you
You
earlier.
confused me. Okay.
Yeah, I
All right.
confused you. So, so there was a railroad contract that was signed in 2020 for about $800,000 for a lot of different work. And it did include flagging. Correct me if I'm wrong, based on the research that we have done. And so Norfolk Southern will give us these invoices for work that's done. It is almost impossible for us to look at that and tell, does that match up with this 2020 agreement? The prices aren't set. It says in there the prices aren't set. So I didn't want to come with a purchase order and say, can you give us purchase order for $800,000 when I don't really know if that's a hard number or not? So I think last month we asked you, or 2 months ago, we asked you to approve a requisition for $117,000 for work that's been done. At this point, I think our construction manager is looking at some of this. I think we have to trust that the railroad's doing the work. They aren't billing us for frivolous things. So this is not the flagging work. This is the other work that's being done on the railroad.
Okay.
And instead of saying we think we got $300,000 or $400,000 more to complete, we don't really know that, because I can't match that up to that contract. That I would rather bring you invoice by invoice, for the large dollars, and let you approve them that way, rather than a purchase order that I don't really feel comfortable as a dollar amount, frankly. And the flagging is an issue, but we will find out about that later.
More to come on that,
Yeah.
obviously.
So
It's-
I apologize.
So we don't have a ceiling to that number, to what that purchase order
No,
okay. Right.
this is going to be a part of the discussion tomorrow with HDR as well.
Right.
This is a big item on there. So we'll be bringing that, because it exceeds the 50,000 that staff has to authorize, that we'll be bringing it to you. Any other questions about the Maple Street extension?
Yeah, can you tell me more about the right-of-way acquisition?
Why don't y'all, why don't you come up and tell us about that, Bonnie? I can't remember. GW, you were a part of that discussion, that we think that there's still some properties that we have yet to acquire that we're going to need. Right.
So we're under construction with the project, but we don't own all the right-of-way yet.
taken, it's just compensation has not been determined. yet.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Very good.
Other questions?
We have had a great partnership with the Dorchester County Transportation folks on this project, and it's greatly appreciated.
Yes.
Have we been in discussions with them to help with some of these items as well? Recognizing that they do have a funding mechanism for these items and this project? to get
Not
it to
yet,
the finish
not
line?
yet, Mayor, because we are still trying to get a grasp and assess of how much of an ask we might need to make. And once we have a better handle on that, then we'll pursue that as a funding option. Yeah.
They've been very helpful and committed to getting this project over
Sure.
the finish line. It's greatly appreciated.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo that, thank heavens they stepped in on this project for us from the very beginning, and I hope they will continue to do so. This is a project that helps out a lot more than just the town of Somerville, so.
Yep, for sure. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about with regard to Cedar Street, except, again, in my assessment, as I'm learning about these projects, we've got $5.7 million that is dedicated to that project right now. I want to learn more about, if that's enough. It seems to me that in today's climate that probably isn't, but, I'll be asking more questions and learning more about that as we go forward. Quite frankly, if I had my preference, I would hand over this project to Berkeley County, and because they have the expertise and the resources and the capacity to manage these projects probably better than we can, even though we're not doing it directly with regard to, say, Maple Street. It's still a huge time eater for Bonnie, in addition to all the other things that she is tasked with doing. So, at some point, I'd like for us to talk, because we still haven't made a whole lot of progress with the Cedar Street. We've acquired a little bit of the right of way that we need, but there's still a lot hanging out there that we need to acquire yet. And that's a part of the discussion we're going to have with Michael Baker, our consultant, on that project as well. They need to, in my view, I think they need to pick up the pace and get a little bit more work done that they have since 2020 when we signed the original contract with them on this project. So anyway, questions about that? Last thing I want to talk about, it's not on the agenda.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Have we had conversations with Berkeley about this?
not yet.
Okay.
No.
So
We're going to.
We haven't
We're going to.
broached the.
Yes, we have
Okay.
not, we have not done that. That's something I want to talk to Johnny Cribb about and see if that's something that he and his folks would be willing to entertain, is just us handing it over to them, let them manage it, and we'll just fund it to the extent that we're required to do that with our agreements. So, but that conversation's coming. Yep. Yep. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to also include this in my update on Friday, had a couple conversations with staff members over the last month and a half or so, where they've come to me with asking me to help them prioritize some of the things that they are doing with regard to their workload. And one of the things that I've heard a couple of times is that, hey, when you, Scott, come to me with a request to do something, or if a council member comes to me and with a request to do something, we have always in the past dropped whatever it is we're doing on the spot, and we have worked on that item to potentially the detriment of their other chores that they have. And what I've advised the staff to do, all of the department heads, is it's your work schedule, it's your workload. Take those requests, unless I ask of you that, hey, this is a top priority, please get this done by a date certain or a time certain. You should just take that request and fit it into your work schedule and prioritize it as you see fit. So I would encourage all of you to keep that in mind when you're making requests of the staff for pieces of information or action items or something like that. And if it is a priority, please let me know so that I can ensure the consistency of the message and convey that to them as well. Certainly everybody wants to be as responsive as possible, but just would want you to keep in mind that would add that to their list of things to do throughout the course of the day or the week. So questions about that? All right. Any questions about anything else that I haven't talked about?
No, I really appreciate you coming before us like this and
Sure.
giving a report. I think it's extremely helpful. And diving into these larger projects where there's a great risk threshold, I really appreciate y'all getting on top of those items. That's good for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no items for executive session.
I would move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
I'm sorry, I doubled up.
Feeling that's a darker color than the actual service.
But
I'm glad you were here to
the
straighten it out.
the flag was the reason that